Get strong.
What's up, party people? The very Miami intro that we have here. It is Roster the People. It is week 4. I'm Neil Smith, joined as always by @ThatFFNerd, Jason Draven. Jason, how you doing this evening?
I'm pumped. Everybody seems to be healthy enough for this game, so I'm so excited to cover it, start questions in and out of the way, and hopefully finish this on time.
Yeah, hopefully. That's the goal. That's the goal.
We're working on it.
We're going to be prioritizing your questions. We also bumped this up to give people a little bit more of a runway for the Thursday night game. But sitting patiently, waiting for me to introduce him, @Donald McJordan, Jordan McDonald. Old McDonald had a Jordan. I'll keep making that joke until it's not funny anymore. So forever. Jordan, how you doing this week? How you doing?
I am doing well. I'm excited to help people out with their fantasy lineups. It's good that we're starting a little early. Hope you can get your questions in, and hopefully Jalen Waddle doesn't disappoint because I am really worried about that groin. And it's a little weird to say, but
oh, my groin is correct.
So bad.
Oh man, the careful about the copyright on that. With the Simpsons are a litigious group, as we know from our old show. Story for a different day. But let's jump right into it, guys, because we already have questions that are coming over.
Ooh.
So Soaring Eagle 175, love the picture, by the way. Absolutely love it.
That's unfortunate.
Goff or Lawrence for Sunday?
I mean, I'm going to go with Lawrence just because I'm more scared that he doesn't have Goff might not have Amon-Ra. I mean, that's making me really nervous for Goff's upside there.
Well, it's not only just that. He's got Swift banged up. Swift might not play, and like not to say that Swift's
he's probably not playing. Let's be honest.
That's a safety blank for him, and Hawkinson's banged up. So you're right. I agree. I kind of think Lawrence has the higher upside, even though he's facing probably the best defense through 3 weeks. But we've seen what Lawrence was able to do. I think he's ascending, and I think right now it gives you the higher ceiling.
Yeah, I have Lawrence higher in my rankings for this week. So it's 3 for 3. We're all going to recommend Lawrence to you. And I think that game is going to be a pivotal game this week. Just weirdly enough, who would have thought at the preseason, just like we all had it, circle Jacksonville Eagles. Because we're going to learn some stuff in that game about who's for real, I think. Because both teams are punching way above their weight right now. And I tell you what, Soaring Eagle gets to double dip because he gets his questions in early. This is how you do it. This is how you do it, folks. Take notes. And this is a little more involved. Gabe Davis, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf at flex. Other wide receivers, Sutton, CeeDee Lamb. Okay. And Jason, we'll go to you first.
I'm going to say that we're going to go with Lockett. I don't love the matchup for Metcalf. I think he gets Okudah. And then Davis is also dealing with injury. So I'd go with the Lockett here, as much as I hate to say that. If Gabe Davis is healthy, I mean, you have to play him because that game's going to be a lot more fun if he is. But I'd rather just make sure you have another option. So
I will start by saying that I have been a noted Gabe Davis denier, I guess you could say. And I know that he had that touchdown in game 1. And I know he's been dealing with the concussion. And I don't really blame him for that because it's not his fault. But, I mean, it hasn't been too much since he's been back. He's been played 2 of the 3 games. Target share is not that huge. It's going to other people, especially Stephon Diggs. I think Lockett Metcalf depends on your league, like PPR, non-PPR. Metcalf, if it's not, Lock if it is. It's kind of a coin flip because they're both getting a lot of looks from Geno Smith, and it might be a high-scoring match. I'd probably go Metcalf because I think Metcalf has the higher ceiling, and that's usually where I go.
Okay, see, that's interesting because I also think it's interesting that you somehow wound up with both Seattle wide receivers. I imagine there's some sort of discount that happened in the draft room because people are afraid. See, for me, it's unfortunate that this is all happening at the same time. So here's going to be the way I have it ranked. I have Gabe Davis if he's playing the highest. If Gabe Davis is playing, I'm playing Gabe Davis, and I'm avoiding the entire Seattle situation if I can avoid it. Because like many people, I'm scared. So for me, But the good news is these are all in the early window, so you will know with enough time if Gabe Davis is not going to play.
Well,
if Davis,
almost.
right,
There
you
is
should.
another game before then, too.
There
so,
is, but it's not. It shouldn't impact you for the way the question is
Yeah.
phrased. So the way that I would do it is I would do Gabe Davis, and then if Gabe Davis gets ruled out, I'm going to start Metcalf. I avoid Lockett because we know what Lockett is. You're either going to get a 5 or you're going to get a 35, and there's no middle ground to that. And so it does actually factor into how your matchup's going to work. So if your matchup is such that you think you need to swing for some sort of crazy home run, then flip flop it. Go ahead and start Lockett, but it's the morning games. I can't imagine you'll know that at the time. So I'm recommending Davis, followed by Metcalf, followed by Lockett, unless I absolutely thought I had to hit some sort of 40-point home run. So I hope that helps. And Jason, we have somebody that's here.
Next.
Appreciating your help. So always
Of course.
appreciate the kind words. So as we wait for more questions to trickle in, let's start talking about the Thursday night game. So the good news here, folks, as far as injuries go, pretty much all your Dolphins that you care about got cleared. Tua's starting tonight. Jalen Waddle is starting tonight. Jordan, you mentioned it. Doesn't mean that Jalen Waddle might be on a pitch count or might leave the game at some point. But the question I have for the group as we wait for more questions is, are you not starting Waddle?
Well, I am. That's why I'm worried. Like, I feel like you gotta have to. Like, unless, what do you have? Like, what do you have that you can feel better about sitting Waddle?
Oh, hold on. We're gonna circle back. We'll segue back into that because there we go. Rene Rodriguez. Rest of season. Chase Edmonds or Miles Sanders.
Oh, bro, that's
brutal. Can I not answer this?
I feel dirty.
I don't want to answer this.
I mean, I'm worried just because of how Edmonds has fallen so quickly behind Mostert. I think Mostert's eventually going to get injured. I know I hate to say that, but it seems to be a trend with him. Because of that, I'm going to go Edmonds, and I also think the same thing for Sanders. Sanders will eventually get injured as well. Perfect. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry, Renee. That's just brutal.
I mean, Edmonds did have the 2 touchdowns last week, but Gainwell and Scott haven't really done much to take over that backfield, at least half of it, or at least a good portion of it, to make me feel good about starting them. I really hate to say this, and I really do, just because Mostert is there and will get his, but I think it's Miles Sanders. I really do.
Gross.
And it is gross, but I think it's true. And not that I don't like Chase Edmonds, but I don't know what that backfield looks like. At least with Miles Sanders, you'll get something. It's not a lot, but you'll get something, and that's all I can really say.
That's not saying much. saying much. I would point out that Boston Scott is already hurt, so that's not helping the whole situation. And we're on record a lot as none of us are very happy about good old Miles Sanders. So Sanders is, you know what you're getting. He needs to hit some sort of 60-yard touchdown to actually be relevant. I can't live my life like this. I can't. I couldn't do it. There's no way that I'm going to be recommending Miles Sanders to anyone anywhere ever. And it's just not worth it to me. So I'm going to go back to the well with Chase Edmonds. Yes, I understand that he's only functionally had one good game, but it's PPR, as is specifically noted. So Chase Edmonds has been a little underwhelming to a certain extent, but he had a 10.5 in week 1, and he had like a 16 last week. I'd rather deal with the fact that at some point I think they're going to figure that out rather than go with Miles Sanders, who I know to be terrible. So I'm going to be the contrarian here who's recommending Chase Edmonds. So there you go. 2 votes Sanders, 1 vote Edmonds. We've also got Justin's here. There you go, boys. Tua tonight or Russ later.
I'm probably going to roll with the Dangerous, unfortunately.
Oh, God.
I mean, Mr. Unlimited is.
I can mute your mic, right? Yeah.
But I think it's just because of who he's playing. Like, I love Tua. I think there's a lot of opportunity, but if he takes one bad hit and he's down, I'd much rather play it safe with Russell Wilson than Tua.
Well, besides the Chargers game, the Raiders aren't giving up that much to quarterbacks. And I feel like Russ is going to figure it out. I feel like this offense is going to figure it out, at least hope so. But I feel like Tua has been playing so well. It is a short week. I don't really care about this back issue, concussion sort of thing he's playing. I feel like you have to play Tua if those are your options.
There you go, Jason. There you go. Your own.
I love that. I get
your
that
own
reference.
audience. Your own audience
Love
is
it.
mocking you. It's
I am.
that is exactly what we're here for. I can just tell you that in my own rankings, which you can find on importantnonsense.com if you join up at the $1 Patreon level, I have Tua at 9 this week, and I've got Russ all the way at 14. I see no scenario where you could start Danger Russ, the most odious Twitter handle I've ever seen, and have any confidence in it. There's no scenario where I'm going to recommend. You would have to be so desperate at quarterback for me to be recommending starting Russell Wilson. I would rather deal with the fact that Tua might not be at 100% and it's the Thursday night game. Two things I don't ever recommend hardly. I don't like starting players on Thursday night, and I don't like starting players with a back injury. In this case, though, I have to do it. Not only because of my other option being Russ, but also because the Cincinnati defense has been putrid. So moving right along here. By the way, Superfan Polo said in the house, thank you, Polo. Welcome in, as always. And he has a question. Going to play Waddle tonight? I'm playing Waddle tonight.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
If he's starting for the Dolphins, he's starting for you,
Fearfully
unless you
though.
have some crazy options. And if
Yeah.
you do, put them in the chat. We'll pick it apart.
I'm
Yeah.
sweating it, but I'm playing him.
I am sweating it as
I
well.
have him at 6 and Hill at 8. So
You're very welcome, Justin.
beautiful.
And then since this is also Thursday night related, Herbert or Burrow?
Oh.
Jason, you're going first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to
he's-
put you on the spot.
I mean, it's pretty easy for me because I'm going to go Herbert. He had a full practice today. What else do you need to know? He's after full practice. I'm perfectly fine rolling him out there, and I'm actually really nervous about Joe Burrow tonight. I have him as a sit this week, so kind of breaking the rule here and just saying I'm going to sit him. Dolphins are currently the worst team, giving up the most points to quarterback. Shocking, but guess who they've played? Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. It's that'll hurt any defense. So I think against Joe Burrow, they're going to be just fine.
See, I hate these questions because I envy the situation. I do. This is my
I know
option.
it's definitely great options. That's for sure.
I would go Herbert just because it's Thursday night and you never know what you're gonna get Thursday night. That's just me, and I'll stick with that. Like if these are my two options, I'm just hoping Burrow doesn't have a 40-point night and Herbert does nothing.
Right.
Like-
So here's what's fun. In my initial rankings, I actually had Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert, literally 5-6, right next to each other. So by my rankings, I get the question because you are literally splitting hairs. I also agree with Jordan. This feels like bragging about my awesome quarterback situation that I have. But I will say I do have to go Herbert. I'm not crazy about this, but the Thursday night game is the splitter. That's the situation here, folks. I'm sorry. Somebody put something hilarious in the chat, which we will get to in a moment. But that's the situation with as far as I see it. We're all going to recommend Herbert to you, so adjust your lineup accordingly. Never heard of this guy. Don't know who this is. Boneham? I don't know. Some guy. Some guy is asking a question here. Appreciate the huge fan thing, by the way. Go like and subscribe. 4-team league Superflex. This is amazing. Thank you, Steve. Thank you.
It's S tier trolling right there.
It is S tier trolling, and I'm here for it. And you're very welcome, by the way. And
But
thank you,
I
Polo.
do think
I love it
have
when Polo's here.
Allen just a little bit higher than Jackson this week. I think that's how I have it.
Okay, fair enough.
I
We're
was
gonna
carrying
move
on the
on.
joke.
We're gonna move on. We're gonna move on to Royce. Royce has a legitimate question here and is not S tier trolling. Pick 2 PPR: Damian Harris, Tyler Boyd, Cam Akers, Melvin Gordon. Discuss.
Oh,
Yeah,
do you
this
pull the
is-
trigger on Boyd? Oh my god.
Yeah, I think I'm going to.
Yeah, just because he's the only wide receiver.
Yeah, I like him, and then I'm probably. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is tough.
I think I will go with Akers here. I don't know. It depends on how you pronounce it. I
So
guess.
you're gonna go Boyd. You're gonna go Boyd, and we'll just go with Cam. Okay, let's do that.
Okay,
for
okay.
simplicity.
You know.
So you're going
Yeah.
Boyd, Cam. Is
I
Jason's
love the
recommendation.
matchup for Gordon, but again, he's seen the second snaps, and they are important snaps. But Akers seems to be breaking it in. Cam, sorry.
I'm
You're
gonna go
fine.
contrarian on you. I'm gonna go Gordon just because he's good for like a goal line touchdown, whereas Akers, we don't know what you're gonna get. I mean, it has been a little bit better, but I don't know. That Niners defense is tough, man. I'll go Gordon. I'll go contrarian. I'll say Melvin Gordon by hair.
Okay. Okay. All right. This is a tough one because you're mixing the positions slightly because you got Boyd tossed in here. See, here's the thing.
Clearly 2 flexes, maybe.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I'm evaluating how this gets broken down. The issue that I have with it is you've got Boyd going on Thursday night, aka now, which is why I want to prioritize getting this gentleman an answer to his question because he's got about 15, 20 minutes to make this adjustment. So from my side, oh, it's so close. See, this is the problem with this whole thing because I literally have Melvin Gordon at 35, Akers at 36 because they're right there, and it's because and it has to do with the fact that Akers is still sharing a job, although he is rapidly shoveling dirt on the grave of.
Well, I don't
Darrell
think that's the case.
It's
Okay, we'll talk about that later, but so for me, I'm actually going to go. Boy, we've answered this so many different ways to the point that it's almost unhelpful because I'm actually going to go Damian Harris, Tyler Boyd. So we all agree on start your wide receiver because it's a PPR league, I think is the general logic there. So start your wide out. I'm not crazy about the fact that it's Tyler Boyd. I'm not crazy about the fact that it's Thursday night, but I don't think you have a better choice here. And I'm actually going to go Harris because with Mac Jones being beat up, Harris is obviously not totally healthy either, but he's going to play. It's trending that direction. The general consensus in my mind is I want Harris out there because they're going to have to run the ball 900 times because Mac Jones is either not playing or he's going to be very limited in what he can do.
But
so
again, he's
that's
splitting a job. That's what
they're all splitting a
it's
job.
all-
Everyone on the list is splitting a job, and I'm discounting Melvin Gordon because he's dealing with a neck injury, which we're going to get into a little bit later in the show. So he's going to play this week, but I'm a little nervous about Melvin Gordon right now. Neck injury, Melvin Gordon, not what I want to hear. Not what I want to hear about that. So it's interesting. Keep these questions coming, guys, because we do have a few more to get to here, like this one. These trade questions always get interesting. Wait, does he mean for or? Christian, I need clarification. Javonte Williams. Oh, I see what you're doing.
They're trading Williams for a quarterback.
Oh, it's neither then, because you're way overpaying for either.
Correct.
You need to punch higher
unless it's a super
come
flex.
up. Unless it's a super flex, and if it is,
or
correct me in the comment.
Trade for a different player. Like,
Yeah, sure. If those are the two quarterbacks you want, you got to go lower. But if you want to trade Javonte Williams for a quarterback, which I would not recommend you do, by the way.
Nope.
If you were going to do that, you need to come up significantly. You need to be looking at like the Jalen Hurtses of the world. Like you're coming way up the ladder.
Mhm.
Don't do this. This is a bad idea. So it's like, for example, what would be more realistic is trading Melvin Gordon for either of those two guys, not Javonte Williams. You're significantly overpaying. I wouldn't. Real talk. The only quarterback that I think might be worth Javonte Williams is Josh Allen. Real talk, and even that's debatable. I probably wouldn't even do that. It's a function of quarterback values.
I just think the running back, especially Javonte Williams, if Gordon doesn't play, is so substantial that I don't think it's worth trading him. I really don't. Even for like Josh Allen or Lamar or whomever, I don't think it's worth it just for the value of that position.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. So we're gonna go ahead and shut this trade down, Christian. And oh, look at that. Okay. Well, thank you, Christian. We got the and then we'll move on to Skylar. Pick 2. Miles Sanders, Jeff Wilson, Allen Robinson. I'm assuming that's Chris Godwin. Yeah, gotta be.
That's it. It's not
Swift and Michael Thomas.
That is a lot of interest.
It is a lot, but I'm going to make this easy because I'm removing Michael Thomas because I don't think he plays.
Yeah.
I'm removing Swift because I don't think he plays. Yeah, so chop those two off the back. I'm also removing Chris Godwin because I don't think he plays. So chop off the back 3. So in reality, I think you're talking about Miles Sanders, Jeff Wilson, Allen Robinson, and if I'm picking 2, it's Miles Sanders and it's Allen Robinson.
Wow, you're going Robinson over Wilson. I thought
I'm assuming PPR. I'm assuming PPR.
Even in PPR. I mean,
I'm assuming PPR. Jeff Wilson is super touchdown dependent. And thank you, Skylar, for clarifying. It is a PPR. So As much as and I have Allen Robinson in the 40s, so that should tell you what I think of Jeff Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still going to go with the running backs here. I would prefer Godwin over Wilson if he plays. I mean, I don't. I mean, it's unlikely to happen, but I am throwing that out there. If he plays, I have him over Wilson. So, yeah, it'll be Sanders and Wilson for me.
All right.
This is so unhelpful because I was gonna go Wilson, Al Robinson because I figure if it's PPR, you start your wide receiver. And I think Wilson, there's no
We're doing
other.
such a bad job tonight.
I know. And I feel like Wilson's got such a Jordan Mason and Marlon Mack are non-existent. And if Davies Price plays maybe a little bit, but Wilson owns that backfield.
Except for Debo's there.
I know, but I guess, but Debo can't run every snap. He can't be in the backfield every snap. And therefore, they love running the ball, and Wilson.
You say that, but
I
I
know.
don't
I was like,
believe it. You
just
say
wait.
these-
I
you
bet
say
you-
these things, but I don't
bet you
believe it.
Shanahan would love to do that, but it's not going to happen.
Okay, fair enough. So, Skylar, I hate to tell you, but we're giving you 3 different answers. So this is going to get this is one of those where I'd say
these guys decided to trust that Allen Robinson is going to catch a touchdown.
I don't trust that. I don't trust that at all. I have zero trust in this. I also just don't trust Jeff Wilson to an even greater extent. As bad as this makes me feel, the only one of these that I actually feel like you can realistically, I hate this phrase, is just going to escape my lips and it's going to be recorded and I'm never going to be able to take it back. Of this list, I think the one you trust the most is Miles Sanders because I feel like I know what I'm getting. I feel like I know what I'm getting and I'm just going to hold my nose and deal with it. Whereas Jeff Wilson could be a 2 or it could be a 14 if he falls in the end zone twice. And frankly, I would vote for any of the back half of his team if I thought they were going to play.
Yeah.
But I don't think Michael Thomas is playing. And by the way, if he does, I'm playing Michael Thomas over anything else.
He will definitely catch a touchdown if he's on.
Yeah, if Michael Thomas is playing, I'm playing Michael Thomas. And if Chris Godwin, through some biblical miracle, could play, then I'll play him too. But
even on limited snaps, I'm taking.
Yeah, because I don't want to play any of your other guys. It's just I don't think that they're going to get. I don't think they're going to get it done. So I hope we've been able to provide at least some level of clarity. But by the way, Jose's back. Welcome back, Jose. Thank you. Do you trade Henderson Jr. or do you wait it out, Jason?
I mean, it really depends on what you can get. I'm trying to trade him currently just because I hate how this backfield looks. I mean, it seems like anytime they get up, Henderson is thrown to the wayside so Cam could get more run. So at least that's how I've been reading the game. Every time I've seen it, that it seems that once they're up, Cam comes in. So
I feel like you should trade him week 1 for that reason. Because, and again, you don't know what was going to happen, but you kind of feel like Akers was still there.
Don't Monday morning quarterback, Jordan. You can't. We don't have a time machine.
He's overshadowing Akers now, or Akers overshadowing him. So yeah, trade if you can get something for him, trade him. Otherwise, just you got to ride the wave because I don't think anyone will take him if this persists.
Okay. See, for me, I would be willing to trade Henderson Jr., assuming I could get anything of value because. And this is a general thing about where I'm at with the Rams right now. If I could get basically what I got on draft day for any Ram that isn't Cooper Kupp, I'm doing it. I want out of the Ram business. I've seen enough. They might be able to fix some of their problems at some point along the way, but by the time they do, your fantasy team will be right in the pooper.
Yeah, it's a Super Bowl hangover still going on.
It might be that. I'm not here to diagnose the individual mindset of any of these players, but what I can say is that they are just so locked in on throwing everything they can to Cooper Kupp and manufacturing him touches. It's all they want to do. It's the only thing they seem to have any real comfortability with. Anything that I could get, if I could get draft day value for it, I'm taking it, and I'm out of the Rams business. Quiet you. Quiet you. Get out of here. Get out of here. Go on. Get. We do have one. We by the way, thank you, Skylar. Hold on. Oh my God, the questions are coming in so fast. There we go. Mike. This is a relevant one. We got to do this quick because the game's going to start here in like 15 minutes. So he's got to make a decision like right now. Same question. Tua over Brady. Who's catching passes in Tampa this week? Jason, we'll go to you first.
Because of the matchup, I mean, God, I'm still going Brady because of health and the fact that Julio and Mike Evans are back. So And Fournette's still going to run over everybody. So those are your 3 pass catchers. Check. It's the Chiefs. He's going to have to throw the ball.
I know, but like, what he hasn't done much like this season already, and like he had most of his weapons week 1. He didn't. I know there's like decent defense in Dallas. Oh my goodness, I'd probably go Tua. I'm gonna go Tua.
You're
and
still
hope the
sticking
best.
with it. Still
I
going
will
with the
say
upside.
Tua.
I get it.
Oh, Mike, I don't think we missed this. I'm sorry. This question was already answered. Earlier. Oh, wait, no. You know what? We did a different question. Hold on. Let's back the whole thing up.
So with 3 quarterbacks. So like,
Yes.
Mike's, we got a third quarterback in the mix here. Mike's coming back here. So I can tell you that for me,
it's going to go Brady, Tua, Burrow for me.
and for me, it's Burrow, Tua, Brady.
Yeah, I'm in Neil's camp. I said Burrow 1, Tua 2, Brady 3. That's mine.
So just to put it, we'll answer both your questions at the same time. And if we're going to talk about who's catching passes in Tampa, I actually agree more or less with the list that Jason provided. I'm going to take Fournette out slightly though, and if we're going to talk about wide receiver, because Russell Gage is also playing. I do. Mike Evans is definitely back. So Mike Evans is definitely back. We think Julio Jones is going to play, and we know Russell Gage should be out there. So that's your 3 wide receivers that I believe will be catching passes because Godwin's not going to suit up, and obviously Fournette will get his targets that he needs to get. And Jason, they're debating you. Your fan base is debating you a little bit here about that. So I know we're burying the lead, but I believe you had Joe Burrow as your QB sit of the week, right?
Yeah,
Officially?
that's why.
Okay.
That's why. I mean, this is going to be a tough matchup for him, and it's. I mean, he's going to be fine. He's going to probably put up 16 fantasy points, but I don't see him being your top 12 quarterback this week. I mean,
I don't either.
That's what your set of the week is. I don't see him.
By the way, this question is interesting. Has there ever been a better time to sell Russell Gage? And I would argue no. There has never been a better time
do it quickly.
to sell Russell Gage. Just very, very quickly. This is the best time in his
I would
career.
also be buying Godwin.
Yeah, sure.
If I'm being honest,
you're very welcome, Mike. Skylar's back. Russell Wilson or Tua? Okay. See, that's what I would do too.
Yeah, you're fine.
That's what I would do too.
If you're bitter doing it, do it. I mean, roll with Tua. He's going to give you more upside for sure. I'm more worried about him getting injured. So
Rapid Remise.
Oh, nice. That's a great name.
PPR. Man.
That's
whoa. Okay, hang on. I got to unpack this.
Yeah, this is a lot.
No, it's good.
Need 2 wide receiver. So set the lineup is what
you
this
have
turns
5 people.
into.
Yeah, 5 people you're picking. 2 wide receivers, 2 RBs, and a flex. So, I mean, I'm assuming I would start the first 3.
Yeah.
Diggs, Sutton, Higgins for sure. And then
you're starting all 3 of those.
Pierce. Is there something after Pierce?
It's Cook, Elliott, Pollard, Pierce is what that list is.
So I would go Cook and malfunction.
It's Cook for sure, and then it gets interesting.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Pollard because there's more upside.
Yeah, I hate it too.
He's so explosive. I like the matchup for Pierce.
I hate Zeke too, so I'll go Pollard as well. I agree with the wide receivers. Play the first 3, put 1 to flex, and
you're doing that. That's the easy part of this question. It's what's your backup running back situation going to look like, and I have Zeke ahead of Pollard by 3 spots, and it's mostly because I think Zeke is more likely to score a touchdown.
Yeah.
But I don't know that
PPR?
you can. But I don't know that you can make that decision wrong. Pick the Cowboys running back you like, and go with that. So that's okay, we're back to Jose's got some follow-up.
I agree.
Truly needs another running back. I agree if you're talking about Darrell Henderson. So which RB can I trade Henderson for? That's a good question. As far as being able to trade Henderson for something, I think you're in like the JD McKissick territory of neighborhood. You're in like
Ryan Robinson with him being injured.
Sure. Yeah, you might be able to do that.
Or like
maybe.
Gus Edwards, like someone like that. Like, do you want to take a lottery ticket?
I just hate
Melvin Gordon would be
Baltimore.
possible, I think. But the problem here is it's going to be really hard to trade running back for running back. It's a really high degree of difficulty to do because people don't want to give up their running backs for something that they have any kind of question marks about. So they feel like usually to do something in position like that, they kind of want you to you're going to have to get into a situation where you believe in something that would be further down the rankings that they have no confidence in. So this is a high degree of difficulty trade that you're going to have to pull off here. So you're going to be looking at something that's not producing now that probably can later. That's kind of what you're talking about. So Brian Robinson's an interesting one, but it's very difficult to trade for something that's like in kind, especially at running back, because I think you're talking about like a Raheem Mostert. If you had to make this decision today, I think you're talking about a Raheem Mostert, a Naheem Hines, a J.D. McKissick.
Any chance you could do like Breece Hall, or you think that's too high still?
Breece Hall's 10 spots up. You're not getting Breece Hall.
Well, I'm assuming you're going to have to give something else too.
Maybe you might have to staple something to it, and
even if it's trash.
Sure, but that might be an option. But then what could you staple that you'd be willing to give up that the other person would actually want? It gets nasty when you're talking about doing something like that. So I tell you what, we can take more time to answer that question a little bit later when we get back down. But I think that's what you're looking for. Oh my. Okay. I have Burrow, so I play Goff.
Play Burrow. Don't overthink that. Play Burrow.
I'd probably.
You hate Burrow. I don't know.
I know.
I would still play Burrow.
Trade. Here we go. Steve's got the right idea here for you, Jose. Trade Henderson for Brian Robinson and some sort of low-level wide receiver. That's a good idea. If you could get that done, go ahead and do that.
And this is why you should join the Patreon, because we do this stuff all day long to help you guys
Actually,
out.
we do this all day long. This is literally the main thing we do on Patreon is answer people's trade questions. I've been doing it. I do it every night of the week. We sit and actually math it out when there's not a ticking clock. So we can actually literally do the math to figure out what's going on. Mike has another question here. Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin, Sanders, CEH, Gabe Davis, 2 for a flex. Well, I'll make this easy because I don't think Keenan Allen's playing this week. We were going to cover this at some point in the show. We'll do it now. Yeah. Keenan Allen
off the field.
Scored it off the field. His chances of playing this week are not great. So
looking bad.
Yeah, look at trending the wrong way for sure.
So
you're really talking about Terry McLaurin, Miles Sanders, CEH, Gabe Davis, and for me of those, I'm going to probably recommend Terry McLaurin and CEH. And if I had some sort of assurances that Gabe Davis was going to play, it would be Terry McLaurin and Gabe Davis.
Okay.
But look, I'll tell you this: if we get clarification in the morning that Gabe Davis is going to play, I might change my answer. But I'm removing Miles Sanders from this equation entirely. So for me, it's Terry McLaurin is the one that is a must-do, and then it's CEH or Gabe Davis, depending on the availability of Gabe Davis. That's your actual answer as far as I'm concerned. And to be perfectly honest with you, similar to Steve's comments about has there ever been a better time to trade Russell Gage, for me, it's has there ever been a better time to trade CEH?
Or Miles Sanders.
Fine, but I mean specifically CEH.
I'm just saying.
CEH is on this white-hot pace that he can never sustain.
Yep.
There's no chance with the amount of touches he's actually getting that he can keep this pace up. So I would love to be able to try and trade CEH right now for way above what his actual draft day value was. And if I could get that trade done, I want to get it done this weekend.
Yeah.
I want out of the CEH business as quickly as possible. And I want to
get something good back.
You will get something good back, and it's going to be something that's a lot more sustainable than CEH is going to be during the back half of the season.
Who's still splitting with McKinnon, and McKinnon out-touched him last week.
That's the reason why you want to trade CEH, is that for the amount of touches he's getting, his performance is way ahead of what it should be. Exactly. So Mike, we'll post this here momentarily, but it's actually part of our Patreon. So it's not an open Discord. We actually have a Patreon. It's importantnowsits.com/Patreon, and the $1 level gets you into our Discord. And within that, you get access to our trade chat and also our start sit chat, as well as all of our other chats that we have available. And it's running 24/7. So you got Jason, myself, Jordan, as well as the rest of our staff. So you got about 20 people at any given time that can answer your questions for as little as $1 a month on demand. So that's what we do. And Jose, thank you. It's what we're here for. And we're back to Polo. So this is an interesting one.
Oh, Williams. Oh no. Sorry.
Do I trade anyone?
Oh, trade. Okay.
Trade anyone.
I'm definitely play Williams right now.
Yeah. No, it's not a play question. It's a trade question. And Garrett Wilson is the answer to this question. I'm going to ride it out with Pollard and Zeke
and Dobbs.
you might be able to trade Madison, but the problem is that Cook is already on track to play. Williams is too valuable because you're probably starting him more than likely, depending on what your team is.
Seventh best running back in the league right now
A
for fantasy.
borderline top 10 start this week at running back. Pickens is not something that he hasn't been doing enough. Circus catches aside, he hasn't been doing enough to really warrant trading. The interesting one is Garrett Wilson, because now you're dealing with Zach
A lot of
Wilson
value.
coming back. And if for people who aren't paying attention, Zach Wilson has proven to be untrustworthy. I'll leave that there. So right now, you could probably get something
Drew Lockett.
You could get something very useful for Garrett Wilson right now, given the pace that he's on.
Yes. But
And
you
I
need to
would
get it done
recommend-
like now.
You have to do it
trade out
before
now.
Sunday. You have to do it before Sunday to get maximum value.
Can I just say
And,
something? Can I applaud
yeah.
this guy for getting his handcuffs? My goodness.
No, Polo knows what he's doing.
He went
Polo's
3 for
also
3
there's
on
a
that one.
Polo
Good for you.
follows like all of our advice. I love him for it.
especially like with Madison and Williams now, because Cook and Swift are both banged up. So good on you. And yeah, I don't want to trade any of the running backs. You seem like a good stable there. You're right about Pickens. Dobbs, I mean, I think Dobbs could be a good sell high. We don't know if he'll actually be the wide receiver 1. It's looking that way. But
Well,
it's
I think Lazard is the wide receiver 1, but Dobbs is definitely the field stretcher.
I know,
and big
but
play
after
guy.
last week, some people might you got to realize that the fantasy industry is a lot of recency bias. They see
It is.
something,
It
they see
is.
something, they see
Ooh,
the,
shiny.
see the shiny toy, they want it. I think Dobbs would be a good one if you want to, swing up for something.
Gimme.
Garrett Wilson, if you can get something for him, I think we don't know what we're going to get with him with Zach Wilson too. So, but I would say Dobbs just because I think his value is a little bit higher right now.
It could be Dobbs. Dobbs is an interesting one depending on who you're playing with. But Polo, I hope that was helpful at least for the time being. I will say,
And if you add him with Henderson, you'll definitely get a good running back coming.
you would absolutely do that. Mike Manning makes a good point. Isn't CH too much of a sell high that nobody will accept him? That would be true in expert leagues.
Yeah. If people are actually paying attention,
If you're playing in leagues with experts and people like that, yes. If you're playing against the general public isn't paying that
all they
close
see is the
attention,
fantasy numbers.
unfortunately. Yeah, they're just doing the math, and it's as simple as which number is bigger than the other number. Not to throw too much shade at the general public, but it's true. Like I'm seeing a lot of Twitter arguments about where CEH goes. So I agree with the general logic, though, that could be a problem you run into. And also, Mike also brings up a good point. Zach Wilson's BFF historically has been Elijah Moore, and that is the concern here. Is that when Zach Wilson
Because
gets back
he's a
out
slot,
there,
right?
yeah. Well, it's also because Zach Wilson, his depth of target's bad. He doesn't throw dump offs to the running backs. I could go on and on and on about this, and we might. But we'll table it for now for the Jets game because we need to keep asking questions. Get your Thursday night questions in if you haven't yet because you're running out of time, and I'm prioritizing those as they come in. Jose, if you could do this, I want a screenshot. I want a screenshot of this, Jose.
Oh my gosh.
Post that on Twitter because I want this. Put it in my veins if you could do that. Also, Polo brings up, the last time Cook wore a harness, he ran for 200 yards. That's why I'm saying Cook's starting, and I don't care that his shoulder's hurt and he's playing.
Did
with
I
a
miss
harness.
something about where was that at? That they were.
We talked about it. It was in his question a minute ago. It was.
But I do think that
becomes a
Madison.
machine.
But no, I do think that Madison will have a lot more value this week because I don't think Cook's going to play as many snaps. But you still have to play Dalvin Cook if he's active.
Oh
yeah. Rapid also bringing up something about the harness. We just covered it. I'm really not worried about the harness, nor am I super worried about the London game. They're
I'm
going out.
Worried about the London game than I am.
They're going out a couple days early though, so I think it'll be fine. I think they'll get a chance to readjust. I'm really not worried about it. And there's zero chance that I'm starting Pierce over Cook, even with the harness, even with the early morning game. Can't do it. Can't co-sign it. Not going to recommend it to you. It is your team. If you feel that strongly about it, go ahead. But I would not recommend that. That's not something that I'm gonna co-sign. And Mike, by the way, we will post the actual Discord stuff here because I saw your question about that here.
Well, Steve and Mike are here. Why aren't they doing that?
Well, Steve and Mike are here actually. So yeah, if somebody who's not talking wants to post that in the chat real quick, I will post it for everyone to see. But yeah, we are trying to promote the Discord, obviously, and there's a lot of good stuff happening on there. So if you want instant access to us, it's the best way to get it, especially for questions like this, because I can't promise we're going to get the whole way through this.
This is another screenshot.
This is another
Another
screenshot.
screenshot. If you can get this done,
I would love to see it. And should you give it up, I would argue yes. Could you actually get this trade done?
I mean, I think you can. I wouldn't. I'd prefer Allen, but
You are a
what kind of
known.
leagues do you play in?
You're a
Jason?
known Terry McLaurin hater.
yes,
Okay, you live in this world where Terry McLaurin isn't good.
It's not that he's not good. I just
and-
like
and
Allen
you-
better.
And I have to fight with you about this because you're polluting people I know. Like I had to spend my entire Sunday on the course explaining to people while we were golfing with the games on. By the way, sign up for Verizon so you can get all the games on your phone, which is what we were doing playing golf. And love that app. That app is amazing. The situation that you have to deal with though is like you've got these people believing that Terry McLaurin isn't good when he's done nothing but have double-digit fantasy weeks. And how'd that work out for you last week about telling people to bench Terry McLaurin for Jahan Dotson? How'd that go? How'd that work out for you?
I can't get them all right, man. I don't know what else to tell you.
There's a difference between not getting something right and
18 points, yes. 18
yeah,
points to 2 points.
and an
Trust
18
me, unlike
versus
I
2
actually look
point.
at all the scores.
Oh, I
how
know
it
you do.
happened,
Oh, I know you do.
and
But I
how
will
often
not.
they're on the field. And I still like Dotson more than Samuel for that reason. He is still on the field more.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate the high level work that Kevin is also on the troll 2000 level. He's a high
But
level.
that suit looks amazing.
Oh yeah, no,
that
I'll put it
PFP
back
is
up. I'll put it back up. The suit game is strong. The suit game is strong from Kevin over there. Always has been. So with that, we do have a small break in the questions. Unfortunately, we got so many questions. The Thursday night game has officially kicked off. We did cover it briefly. Fortunately, there weren't any major injuries that we absolutely had to go through. Tua started, Waddle started. Little nervous about Waddle maybe leaving the game, but not enough that we were ever going to recommend not starting him. And then for the Bengals, the only injury of note was Joe Mixon potentially being out temporarily speaking. So but he's playing and he seems to be completely healthy. So if you had Bengals and Dolphins, you were more than likely starting them. Good luck to everybody in your Thursday night matchups, and keep those questions coming because we'll keep posting them and breaking it down. We'll take whatever you got. Trade questions, start sit questions. By the way, we got so many questions that if I did happen to miss one, post it again.
And we will go
Put
over
it,
it.
bump it to the top of the chat because we'll break it back in because we literally got 50 some odd questions and I think we got 47 of them based on what I was seeing. But I just want to make sure if your question did not get answered, reblog it. That'll put it back to the top and I will post it and we will answer it. We are here largely to answer your questions. But with that being said, we broke down Thursday night. Best of luck, everybody. We also mentioned that Jason, if you want to touch on it, Joe Burrow was your sit of the week. Do you want to? I know your logic behind it. It made a certain amount of sense, although I don't co-sign it per se.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think this is a better defense than people give credit for because of the fact that they've played Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, two very, very good quarterbacks with very, very good offenses. So they are the worst defense right now because of that. And I think that they are, I mean, sure, Burrow can get right now. He's moving the ball down the field very well. But with that, it's difficult for me to trust him because this isn't a bad defense. We've seen it last year. It's carried over to this year. It's just, I mean, you run into a moving rock. It's not a good idea to try and stop it.
I understand. It's very difficult for me to not be able to put Burrow out there. But anyway, by now those decisions have been made.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is, and you're very welcome, Rapid. Always welcome. Keep them coming. And we're back to Mike. Do you like McLaurin or Gabe Davis rest of the season? So we'll go to Jason first.
PPR, I'm probably going to go with McLaurin. I just think it gives you a safer floor. And he's on the field. Davis keeps having these injuries, and they're annoying me. So if he's going to keep having,
they're annoying to him too.
Yeah, exactly.
Lest we forget, Gabe Davis is a person.
I know, but the soft tissue things bother me so much because it continues to re-aggravate. It's very difficult to get rid of. You have to pretty much rest, and it's impossible as a professional athlete to do that.
That is fair.
Yeah.
I'm also going to go with McLaurin, and it's closer now than it was in the preseason. And to me, it has way less to do with Jahan Dotson and significantly more to do with Curtis Samuel. And I got to shout out Curtis Samuel here because this is now twice in his career, two-time award-winning fantasy zombie Curtis Samuel so far. He has picked himself up on his deathbed twice. Very rare. You might get a fantasy zombie out of somebody once. Twice is worth noting. And he's to me is he's the fly in the ointment as it relates to a lot of this commander stuff.
Well, and I think another, I guess, random thing about that is the fact that he is leading everybody in catches.
Yes, he's leading everyone in catches because they're favoring the slot. He's also still getting carries. It's a function of him being healthy, and as long as he's healthy, he's going to continue to carve out a role. Clearly, Ron Rivera still loves him, but it is still McLaurin over Gabe Davis. I can't get away. I can't get away. Polo, you're not the only one, by the way. A lot of people bitter about Curtis Samuel. Why do you think he was such a hot waiver ad? Because nobody drafted him. Because a lot of people got burnt, and yeah, no, we got it. But yeah, he burned a lot of people, but two-time fantasy zombie. It's amazing. And when he's healthy, clearly he still has a little something left in the tank. But to me, that's the fly in the ointment. But I will say this. Washington is starting to backslide into what I thought Washington was going to be, which is only limited production. Carson Wentz is starting to look like Carson Wentz from Indy. Their defense isn't good. I think Washington, I hope you enjoyed those 2 weeks where Washington looked competent. Because I think Washington for the rest of the season starts to look a lot more like week 3 than they did for the first 2 weeks. And by the way, well, I'm going to go ahead and just throw this out there for you, Jason. There you go. There you go. There you go. Our own Mike Manning does the shadow reports for Important Nonsense, by the way, and also contributes for PFF. So
hey, you want to pick a top 12 quarterback to try and sit? Good luck. You can gladly take this seat from me.
See, Jason, but I think that's your issue. Is that you emphasize the sit part. Like you should be like, oh, this is a guy should be downgraded rather than sit them.
It's a hard sit, I think.
It's a very hard sit.
Yeah, and we are aware that they do have a banged up secondary. But when Mike brings it up, I would do all as contractually obligated on my end to bring up. Check out the Shadow Report written by Mike Manning, ImportantNonsense.com, Friday morning. It's an excellent tool.
And I think that one's free.
Your lineup.
So
I believe that one is still free.
If you're lucky enough to check it out, you should. I mean, he misses from time to time too. So,
by the way,
it's only fair. Perfect.
By the way, Mike, and for everyone else interested, do us a solid and sign up for patreon.com/importantnonsense. For the $1 tier, you can get into Discord. Our most expensive tier is $5, and that gets you everything. It gets you our custom stat book, gets you our weekly rankings, gets you all of our preseason content that we do, which not as relevant now, but it gets you access to every single thing we do, also including all of our sports betting content,
which is really where you're making your money back.
Which is really where you're making your money back, because frankly, you can't go wrong with Mason, Vishal, and the rest of the guys over there. Last year, Mason was 80% against the spread. You're making money on that, and he's at a very high clip right now, even through 3 weeks. So I highly recommend this. We put a lot of work into it. And we will keep that going from there. And thank you, Mike, as always. And yeah, it's inescapable, Mike. They're going to become the Colts from last year. It's
and
impossible
George knows all
for this
about
to not
that.
happen.
Hey man, they were. Well, the thing is, I would have loved to have 3 receivers like McLaurin, Samuel, and Dotson. So I mean, if they
you now have Pierce. I'm just saying.
You now have Pierce. Okay. That is and Paris Campbell.
And Ashton Doolin and Mo Alley Cox.
Ashton Doolin, who will be playing tight end. Ashton Doolin, who will be converted to a tight end in like next year, playing for probably the Saints. Like it's like it's.
That wouldn't surprise me.
No, it wouldn't surprise me either. But come on now. All right,
the Colts love their big old tight ends, though, don't they?
And Mike, we look forward to seeing you on our Discord. Go ahead and sign up, and we'll be happy to hand walk you behind the velvet rope, such as it is over there. So
I want to go back to the if there's no other questions, I want to go back to the Alec Pierce thing.
There are no other questions at the moment. Keep those questions coming as we continue to roll this forward.
Jason has Alec Pierce as one of his starts of the week, and not that I disagree with you, but I just want to know your rationale. I want to know why you think that.
I might disagree with you depending on the rationale, so I'm also interested.
All right, fine. Okay, so he came back last week, looked great, finally healthy. He missed part of the first game. I think he's the clear wide receiver 2 on the team because I don't trust Paris Campbell. Don't think he looks that great. And Ashton Dulin looked fine. But again, he's going to have a great matchup. The Titans gave up 32 fantasy points to wide receivers so far on the year, like per week. So, I mean, you're splitting up. I'm assuming that, okay, we go with 19 to 20 for Pittman, and you still have 12 points there for Pierce to come through with. Outside of that, because I mean, Titans are the 4th worst at doing anything against a wide receiver, but he has the trust of Ryan, and I think in the red zone he can easily get this through. I'm a little nervous because Woods saw those targets, which is kind of annoying, and in clutch situations, Pierce pulled down some very important targets.
Okay, before Neil eviscerates you, let me just bring up a couple things. You're really, really overestimating Matt Ryan's offensive line being able to stand up and be able to throw a good ball to Alec Pierce that many times in a game to have you put him in your lineup.
It's the Titans, though.
He is set. I don't care.
I don't care either about that.
Who have a
Not
pretty
to
good
jump
offensive
in, but
line. I mean, he's gonna be seeing a lot of Jeffrey Simmons in his face. Matt Ryan is. Anyways, so you can get Alec Pierce off your waiver wire right now. He's 7.7% owned in ESPN.
Oh yeah, I plan to have him on the
I had to
waiver show
scroll
Monday.
as
Probably.
far down to find Alec Pierce in my rankings as I had to.
I don't know if I could start him though. Like I was very, very optimistic of what I saw in week 3. He made some really great catches at some great times
while being defended.
But I don't know. Yes, but I don't know if I could, bank on that to translate into fantasy success. Maybe down the line. But
yeah, which is again,
But
I'm assuming he has a decent game, getting the 10 to 12 points, which isn't great, granted. But looking outside of the top 36, I think he's somebody that can easily get into the top 36.
I would say the deepest of leagues, you would consider it. But I can't consider a 12-man league to start.
Jordan, here's where I'll help you real quick.
Yeah,
I have Alec Pierce rated wide receiver 75. So that's my answer to that is. I don't care that they're playing the Titans in as much as it relates to Alec Pierce. To your point that you made, I don't see how there's going to be enough targets. If Jonathan Taylor wasn't playing, I will have this conversation with you.
Yes.
But Jonathan Taylor is playing to the best of our ability to know that as we sit here right now. If I get the word between now and Sunday that Jonathan Taylor is not playing and Nyheim Hines is your starting running back, then we'll talk about moving Pierce up to a point where he would be flex worthy. But for me right now, you'd have to be talking about a 16-team league for me to be starting Alec Pierce. And it is what it is at this point. I just don't feel that there's any way with the constipated Indianapolis offense that I'm watching every week.
I love that.
that they're going to be able to actually generate enough meaningful targets to get everyone involved. And when they go to the red zone, they're throwing it to the tight end. So I don't feel good about him getting a touchdown either, which would probably bail you out and get him into starter range. So for me, I'm not discounting the fact that he was more involved in week 3 to the extent that I'm just completely dismissing it. But I'm going to need to see a little bit more from Alec Pierce before I'm going to be recommending starting him in your lineup here. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to we'll move on from there a little bit because I want to make sure that Mike, you want to just come on? Room's open if you want to just grab your headset and come on here because Mike's he's got all the jokes tonight. I kind of wish they were playing the Little Giants. That is fantastic. Rare kicker question. I can't believe we're doing a kicker.
Can I just butt in? Who do you have a kicker now that you're trying to drop one of these like serviceable
Bucker would
players?
be my guess.
Probably Bucker.
Then what did you do last week? What did you do the week before?
I couldn't tell you, but I would
he
never
roster. Had Amendola.
I'm not rostering 2 kickers, so it's whatever your kicker is. Yeah.
Because either you have a decent kicker who doesn't have a good matchup, and I hate that. I hate when people say, "Oh, this kickers have a good matchup." Well, unless if it's like windy-ish, as you know what, I'm starting the kicker I drafted. If I drafted a guy
that
nice
I'm catch because this is a PG-13 show.
Yeah, it's not my first rodeo, but yeah, that's my advice. Don't drop either of these players. Those are 3 players that you can, do something with. Drop the kicker you have for the kicker you want. or the kicker you need or whatever your situation is. There's no bye week, so it's not like you don't want to drop the Justin Tuckers or the Evan McPhersons. Yeah, that's just my advice. Drop the kicker you have.
All right, drop the kicker you have is also going to be my advice. There's never a reason to roster 2 kickers. I imagine you didn't take a 0 at kicker last week, so you probably have some kind of kicker. Let's assume for the moment that you did take some sort of weird kicker situation and you took a 0 last week for it. Okay, fine. I'll make that argument for you and play devil's advocate with you. I'm dropping Lazard.
Oh wow. Yeah, I'm still dropping.
That's fine. If you want to, frankly, it's fine either way. Like, I'm not recommending dropping any of these 3 guys. It's just I'm probably dropping Lazard because Lazard is completely touchdown dependent. He's only getting a target on 15% of his routes. He's not running enough routes to actually justify his own existence. And as far as I'm concerned, Dobbs is a nice story, but I'd rather try and hold on to Dobbs because I think I could trade Dobbs to somebody who actually believes. I'm not a believer, but I bet I could find somebody in my league who is and get something that I want. Gallup is... It's not worth dropping because it's kind of the same thing. He's finally coming back. So you've waited all this time. Whereas Lazard is only on the field for about...
He also just came back.
Right, but he's only on the field so far for the games he has been back for about 65 to 70% of the total snaps. He's only getting a target on 15% of the routes that he runs, and he's completely touchdown dependent. So Lazard, to me, is like pointless. If I could try and trade Lazard, I would. I want Lazard off my team. It's hard for me to even call Lazard a sell high. It's just a sell. It's just sell. Like, I don't want it is kind of where we're getting with Lazard. And also, he's a ticking time bomb. That's just how I view it. Injury prone, as we know from our good friend Edwin Porras, shout out to Edwin, is not really a thing. It's a myth. Alan Lazard rides that line so hard of actually being properly considered to be injury prone that it's just not something that I want to deal with. So I have no kicker. All right, well, there you go. Interesting. And Kevin will always talk to you about Younghoe Koo. The answer is always Younghoe Koo as far as what do you pick up?
Just to circle back on that question, if you have no kicker, this seems like a fairly shallow league. I'm not going to lie.
Mm.
I would drop Lazard. Yeah, I think you made a good point. You've held on to Gallup this long. You don't know what you're getting yet. I mean, he could end up hindsight being the guy you should have dropped, but yeah, Romeo Dobbs. It was, I liked what I saw, and you're right. Like or trade a guy. Trade 2 of them for somebody. Open up a spot.
Yeah.
Kind of hard. It's usually depending.
I would wait until the last possible second to do this, and then I would drop out. If I couldn't get a trade done and I had to do a drop, and I don't want to do this way, but if I had to do it, I would wait until the last possible second, whatever that means, however waivers work in that league. I would drop him. I would drop him at the last second, pick up a kicker for him, and then that will prevent somebody from trying to snipe you before it has to go through proper waivers. And then I'd try to reacquire him on waivers if it was something I was inclined to do. So, yeah, Lazard is going to be the recommendation if you have to do it that way, but I would be really trying to not do it that way if I could. Yeah. There you go. So it's the consensus here is Lazard, and we do have another question here. Yeah, there you go. Jason Kryptonite question. Cutting tight ends. Jason will always tell you to get more tight ends. There's never enough tight end.
Yikes. Have to drop one. Gerald Everett.
Oh, I knew you. Why do you hate Gerald Everett?
I don't hate Gerald Everett.
You do hate Gerald Everett.
No, I don't. He is my set of the week, though. So.
I would also cut Gerald Everett, by the way. So, well, actually, you know what? Hold on.
I don't know.
I'm gonna go check my work here. Hang on, I'm gonna go pull up my rankings.
Let's just say it's either Irv Smith or Everett. You can't drop Goddard.
No, I'm cutting Irv Smith. Yeah, I'm cutting Irv Smith.
I was saying Irv Smith.
I'm cutting Irv Smith by a nose. It's close between those two. Kevin, you're definitely gonna obviously hold on to Goddard. So it's a conversation between Irv Smith and Gerald Everett, and for me, it's Irv Smith by about 3 total tight end spots. So it's very close between those two.
Yeah, as are most tight ends.
Everyone thought Irv Smith would be like the sleeper, and the season's still early, but if you have to get rid of one, I think we've seen enough out of Gerald Everett that he could actually be productive through this whole season.
Well,
whereas
what you need to do is just trade him.
Well, I mean that's the solution to every problem, but
right, exactly.
He
I want to
produced
answer the
first
question
2
as written.
Yeah.
Obviously, the caveat would be if you could trade any of them, you would. But let's assume that that's not happening. So, question as written is pick one, and I think that's I think that's what it is. And a lot of people, including myself, were also high on Irv Smith, and he has definitely been a disappointment. The Vikings in general are a disappointment. It's the Minnesota disappointments, actually, as far as I'm concerned. That's kind of what that is, and it's the
Even
most
Justin Jefferson is suffering.
it's the most boring offense I've ever seen too. It's so boring.
Which it was
Like,
supposed to be this high flying offense that was coming from the Rams. We're not
yeah,
running the ball
and then they're
anymore.
running the same offense they ran last year,
Yeah, certainly
and
feels
it's like boring. Like it's so boring.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Vikings, while we wait for more questions to come in, let's talk about the morning game here real quick. We're gonna do this quickly. We already covered Dalvin Cook. He's gonna play. I don't think anybody's afraid of the harness. And if you are afraid of the harness, I'll refer you to
You
the
should not be.
200-yard. I'll refer you to the 200-yard game he had last year with the harness. So you're all the people who are trying to start Madison. You got to wait another week. I'm sorry. Saints is a little more complicated. Michael Thomas has not practiced at all this week. Foot injury reported initially is not a big deal. Starting to seem like a big deal.
Again,
They're saying he's going to practice. It's the other foot.
I know it's still.
It's his other foot critically. It is not the same leg that he was dealing with before. So I do want to point that out. It is material. If he can't practice tomorrow, he ain't playing. That's it. So they're going to try and have him go through practice tomorrow. I see no scenario where he's going to actually get out there and deal with that. So start looking for other options for Michael Thomas if you've been writing Michael Thomas, like I have in a couple leagues, because he's been great. Very annoying.
Receiver.
Jarvis Landry returns to practice. If you're starting Jarvis Landry, I'm sorry. But he'll likely be playing. He should see an uptick in targets with Thomas being down. And now we get to the real fly in the ointment. Jameis Winston has not been at practice at all this week. And Andy Dalton has been taking the first team reps. Taysom Hill is taking the second team reps. Same story. Jameis Winston's going to go out there and try and practice tomorrow. If he can do it, he's probably going to be allowed to start. If he can't do it, let me ask the question to the floor. If Jameis Winston can't start, is there any Saint that you're willing to put in your starting lineup with Andy Dalton as the starting quarterback? What Saint would you start?
Chris Olave.
So you can't just yell at names.
Yes,
and
I
expect
can.
us-
Terrifying.
You can,
terrifying.
because that is exactly
Are
what
you-
this kid is made to do.
You're talking about pass catchers or is Kamara?
I'm talking about
count?
any Saint. Pick
Because
a Saint.
I would have. I feel like I'd have to play Kamara. I know it has been great, but what are the other options if you can't start Kamara?
I think Kamara is the one that is the most obvious because
Yes.
you don't have better options. And so it might be a get-right game for Kamara. But outside of Kamara, then, what are you actually starting to feel good about? Jason said Olave. I get it. Have you seen Andy Dalton play football?
Yeah, he can still chuck it deep. I trust in it.
This
That's what
is
he's
where
done.
I'm trying to lead people.
Not happening. I'm not doing it. I'm not saying none because I love Olave. I've have him in my top. Actually, I have him at 29 right now.
Is that with Dalton? Assuming Dalton starts, you've got him at 29?
Either way, I think he goes.
Spoken like-
I think he goes down with Dalton because I'm assuming that he's playing right now.
That's spoken like somebody who's never had to watch Andy Dalton be their quarterback for their team.
Jason, 29.
Yeah.
That's like start of the week territory for you.
It would
Yeah,
be.
but he's already starting in most people's
Well, I don't know.
ECR.
about that, man.
He's
You-
too high. That's the issue. Trust me.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
For me,
but-
it's Kamara, and that's it. And if you can start Taysom Hill at tight end, that might be the week to do it.
Yep, I agree with that.
That might be the week to do it because Andy Dalton's going to throw 2 picks in the first half and then get benched, and it's going to be Taysom Hill running the Wildcat. For
Well,
the rest of
I even said this.
Write it down.
I
Write
said
it
this
down.
week too.
It's
for
happening.
Our week 2 show. I said if Andy Dalton becomes a starting quarterback, because everyone seems to forget about him, and that's fair. But he is the second quarterback on this team. It's not Taysom Hill anymore. But I do think Taysom Hill will start getting more quarterback snaps if Andy Dalton is the starter.
I agree with that completely. Because
And by that reason,
they're not going to yank Jameis Winston out to do the Wildcat, but they probably would yank Andy Dalton out to do the Wildcat.
Yes.
It's that bad.
and for that reason, I agree. If you're a little shallow in tight end, that's a great time to stream Taysom Hill.
I would not start Taysom Hill at quarterback.
No.
If I could play him at tight end, I absolutely would be considering
Yeah.
it.
We do need to say that
It would
though.
be very spicy.
We do
if
need
you
that
could do it.
disclaimer because I don't want to be on the record saying start Taysom Hill.
I am not. Yeah, I am
worth
not being on the record without many
No.
caveats around this. But if I could play Taysom Hill at tight end, I would. It would depend on what my other option is, but I would really be thinking about it because
Also, Michael Thomas. I'm so biased because I need Michael Thomas this week.
well, I don't think Michael
shocker.
Thomas is playing.
But if
man.
I
It's
have
just-
to speak, I know. But like, I'm just saying if he's starting, if he is playing, it is gonna be pretty tough to.
if he was playing and Jameis is playing, then you're probably going to have to deal with it. And you just roll the dice because I don't know what better options you're realistically going to have. Rapid wants to know Vikings being a disappointment, Cousins or Rodgers. I don't know if that's rest of season or if that's this week.
I'm definitely playing Rodgers. Saints are historically good at like playing decent defense.
Well, so are the Patriots. Like if we're
Okay.
going to the other side of
Do
the
they have
coin.
Mac Jones to even run the ball? Like it's going to be Brian Hoyer. You know how terrifying that is to have an.
And they
offense
have
run-
Andy Dalton. Then what do you like, Jason?
right.
Yeah,
Jason.
except for one has a good wide receiver, one has hot trash. Like
Okay,
I would rather throw it to. Oh wait, who? Myers or Olave? Olave. Oh
Okay,
wait,
but
Myers
we're
isn't
talking
playing.
about the
Like,
other side
it's-
of the ball here, though. Like I know you're saying like game script. I know you're trying to bake that in, but we're talking about Cousins going against the Saints defense, who is they're like I'm telling like both are decent defenses. I won't go to say they're good, but they're decent. I say Rodgers though. Like we said, like Kirk Cousins. This offense was supposed to be high fly. This offense was supposed to be better, and we haven't been getting that yet. Whereas Rodgers, it's been a slow starter past few seasons. He ended up winning the MVP. So I'm not worried about that. I think that Rodgers is the guy you want if this is rest of the season and probably this week.
For this week, I'm starting Cousins. Rest of season, it's close, but I'm going to still give the nod to Rodgers. And Mike has a question. If Thomas is playing, would you stick with him or throw in Burks? I'm playing Thomas over Burks, if assuming he plays.
Yep.
I think that one's an easy one. And with that pretty much takes you through the morning game. The morning game will be interesting. We're going to try and rapid fire through some of these so that everybody can go enjoy watching Thursday Night Football. So let's whip through this because you've got Browns, Falcons, Sunday. David Njoku do not practice Thursday. However, great matchup this week. Jason, I know you wanted to talk about David Njoku here as it relates to this game.
Yeah, I mean, because the fact that he didn't practice makes me so nervous. And this is such a great matchup for the tight end that if he is out, I am willing to stream Harrison Bryant. I mean, it becomes a very streamable option. This is a great setup for him and could easily just end up tearing apart the Falcons, who, I mean, that's something that the tight ends like to do. So might as well roll with it. And if you're looking for somebody and Njoku's out, if you haven't already picked him up, I mean, definitely go with Bryant. So.
Okay. I was with you on starting Njoku. I can't go there with you with Bryant because there are going to be other options available per my rankings that'll be available to you, like Tyler Conklin, for example.
With Zach Wilson, that's the issue.
That might be the best thing because Zach Wilson can't throw it but 5 yards. And what does Tyler Conklin do? Run out 5 yards and turn around and stop running and then fall down. It's a match made in heaven. So that's why I'm a little more interested in that. You also have a note here on Jacoby Brissett. So you want to talk about Jacoby Brissett here?
I do, because again, I brought it up on the Waiver Wire show on Monday. He has been playing very well. I mean, it's shocking to me how well he's been playing. He is putting up these great weeks, has a lot of great weapons around him, and if you're looking for a streamer, you could do worse. I'm just saying. If you want a full breakdown on it, definitely go to the Waiver Wire show from Monday because I break it down a lot better than I want to right now.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Limited time there on that. For the context, I have Jacoby Brissett at QB 23 this week. So I'm not exactly going to get in that boat with you, I don't think. But I do get the logic because they are playing the Falcons. Speaking of the Falcons, that's the other side of the ball. The only news of note on the Falcons is Cordarrelle Patterson misses practice Wednesday and Thursday. They're calling that rest because he's a man and does man things on Sunday. And I anticipate he will be out there on Sunday continuing to do man things. So if you've got Cordarrelle Patterson, you're probably playing him. I can't imagine you have better options than that. And if you have questions about Kyle Pitts or anyone else Falcons related, put them in the chat and we'll circle back. But we're going to move on to Commanders, Falcons, gross game. Do not want. Try not to watch this. Is going to be my stance on this game. Coming out of the NFC least, just a brutal game for brutal things. Commanders. The big talking point is Brian Robinson still has no timetable to return. Since he's been out, Antonio Gibson has actually been serviceable to good is how I would term that in spots. But Jason, I know you wanted to talk about Antonio Gibson very much so I'll
because he is my RB sit of the week. I can't get on the Gibson train right now. Last week McKissick actually outsnapped him, and that is terrifying to me. Granted, I do think that was game script, but Cowboys have been solid against the run. Week 1 versus the Bucs was the only one that they really struggled because they weren't ready for Fournette to just fly through them. It was ridiculous. So again, it just made me nervous for that. But outside of them, he has been Mixon. They only got 83 yards. He caught 3 passes for 26 to make it barely over 100. But again, if Gibson is splitting, you're going to lose those targets. Saquon Barkley rushed for 81 yards, caught 4 passes for 45. You have to have the passes portion of that, and I don't think it's going to happen because McKissick is the one catching it.
Polo, not as long as Cordarrelle Patterson is
there.
Yeah,
Patterson is a man.
As long as Patterson is there, this all goes on.
I hate that we say this unironically.
I know. All because of what happened last year. You're welcome.
Mm-hmm. 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 As I've said about Cordarrelle Patterson many times, I've never been more right about something 9 years later. If you go back through the historical archives, I was talking up Cordarrelle Patterson when he came in the league and was saying, if he could just learn how to run routes, he'll be unstoppable. Yeah. And what they learned is there's not an ounce of route running in that man. He cannot learn to run routes. So they just said, screw it, make him a running back. And the rest is history. Yeah. It's amazing to me. So, okay, so we covered the Commanders. You're going to have all the rest of your Commanders. Gibson is Jason's sit of the week. I still have Gibson in admittedly a bad matchup, so I do get the logic there. I have Gibson still as an RB2 for this week because I really don't think you're going to have better options unless you are just stacked in some way, shape, or form. And I get it. McKissick outsnapped him, but it's not time to panic about Gibson yet. What I want to do with Gibson is I'm hoping he continues to produce, and then I can trade him at max value before when Brian Robinson comes back to eat his lunch off his plate. And that's what we're going to do. But
I'm more hoping that he takes over McKissick's role.
Maybe.
Which doesn't seem to be happening. That's what I want.
But I don't think McKissick's going anywhere. They love McKissick as long as he's healthy.
Drives me nuts.
Cowboys is really simple. You're going to have Gallup, it sounds like. It sounds like Gallup is actually going to suit up for the first time this year. And Dalton Schultz looks like he's going to make his return. That's really all you need to know for this week as it relates to the Cowboys. So you're going to have your normal Cowboys. Seahawks, Lions, Seahawks. There is nothing to note. You're going to have your normal Seahawks. I suppose this would be a good week to play them if you had to because the Lions defense is putrid. Speaking of the Lions, this is where it gets a lot more involved. DeAndre Swift is not playing this Sunday. There, I said it. It's not happening. An actual biblical miracle would need to occur. And there's precedent on this from last season when he had a shoulder injury. They sat him down to let him heal. They're going to do that again because they know that DeAndre Swift is their future. They need to keep him healthy. As much as I love Jamal Williams is a guy to them that they can use as they need to. And when they're done with him, they'll move him on. Whereas DeAndre Swift is going to be there forever, or at least for the next several years. So if there's any chance of doing long-term damage to DeAndre Swift's shoulder, you saw it last year, they sat him down.
I didn't realize that Dan Campbell actually said that.
He did actually say that.
I didn't realize he said that. That's amazing.
He did actually say that. I love Dan. If you haven't seen Dan Campbell's press conferences, hit him up because they're my favorite thing. They're amazing. I love how he convinced people that he's some sort of pro wrestler, and they think he's an idiot, and he uses it to his advantage against them. It's my favorite chess game. Amon-Ra St. Brown also dealing with an ankle injury. He is much more likely to play than DeAndre Swift, but I'd be nervous about this a little bit because he's got that huge target share. They might have to put him on a pitch count. He might not even play. I would have some kind of backup plan for Amon-Ra St. Brown, good as he's been. DJ Chark, probably not playing. TJ Hawkinson is probably going to play despite dealing with a foot injury. And this might be a good week for Hawkinson because of some of the other point centers not being able to suit up. But beyond that, there isn't too much to discuss as it relates to the Lions. Unless,
Yeah, I'm actually kind of, if you're looking for a streamer with Amon-Ra out, Reynolds. I mean, he's a actually good football player.
this Reynolds is an interesting choice. I'm not going to go there with Reynolds. I think you're going to have better options than that, but I would need to know what your other options were. Reynolds could be considered, but I will say this: I think this is the real question: was do you play St. Brown? And I'll just say this, similar to some other takes I've given.
If he's playing,
If St. Brown is playing for the Lions, he's playing for you. I don't see any universe where you could justify sitting him if he's actually going out there. And this guy, who's this? I don't know who this is.
wait.
Some guy with sunglasses is saying Craig Reynolds is a flex value, and I could, like I said, I could see it. But this is why I'd want to know what your other options are, because you might have flexes that I like a little bit better. But he should be on the radar. So I'm with you on that one, Jason. But we got to move on from the Lions. If you have more Lions questions or takes, put them in the chat. We'll circle back. Titans, Colts. Cover your ears, Jordan. Ear muff it for me, buddy. Because I know the Colts is your team, but
Already got him on.
yeah, okay. Jonathan Taylor on the injury report. Misses Wednesday, back Thursday. Jonathan Taylor is going to suit up, right, Jordan?
I'm not worried about that.
He's
Well,
not worried about
That was also his first time missing practice since high school.
That's
Right,
just like that.
right.
That means nothing. Like that. That's just
That-
it's cool that
It
like
hurts.
yeah.
It's
I mean,
neat. It's a
yeah.
neat stat. And then on the
I-
other
I
side of
haven't
the
done it.
ball,
He's an
other
NFL
side of the ball, Treylon Burks got missed one day. He's already coming back. He's going to play. So no real injuries of note here, and we already covered it. But just to reiterate the point, Jason's flex start of the week is Alec Pierce, and Jordan and I are very dubious of this. And
You'll
wish
like
you
the
all-
other one just fine. I was throwing it in there because I found it interesting.
I get that. It's just I cannot co-sign putting Pierce in there.
No.
Bears, Giants, do not watch this game. Find something else to do. Go to the library, read a book, spend some time with your family, go cut the grass. Whatever you do, don't watch this. Because if you want to watch a bad football game, this is your game, folks. Over under on Justin Fields throwing more than 6 passes. Don't answer that. Don't answer that. Now I'm just being deliberately a jerk to myself.
But you're not wrong.
I'm not.
I mean, you're definitely going to see probably under 18 passes. Let's be honest.
Big
Yeah.
note here. David Montgomery, who's been on an electric pace so far, despite the fact that the Bears don't even like him. They've realized that they need him if they're going to do anything this year. Day to day with an ankle injury, he's not playing this week. He missed Wednesday. He missed Thursday. I'll be shocked if he can get out there. So the only real news / note is how high do you guys have Herbert?
Let me see.
Pretty high.
I have.
Yeah,
him
I
at
think he's kind of David Montgomery proof.
7.
Even if Montgomery comes back, like I. Think
I understand, but David Montgomery's probably not playing. So
But no, so he's starting him then. Like don't
Yeah.
like you.
No,
I
I
have
know,
him
like,
at 7.
you
So-
have him at 7. Okay, yeah.
You paid a pretty penny for him off the wire. You better start him.
Yeah, you're starting Herbert this week, probably either way, and probably moving forward. But for me, he's just outside the top 10, especially if Montgomery's not going to play. I mean, they're going to force feed him the ball. And now we'll do the Giants quickly. Sterling Shepard tore his ACL. I feel so bad for Sterling Shepard.
no.
Like, legitimately. Pour one out for Sterling Shepard here, folks. I feel terrible for this man because he just cannot catch a break. And he seems like such a genuinely nice person who's actually very good at his job. And he just cannot get on the field and stay there. It's terrible. And I hope this doesn't cost him his career, but we're kind of at that point. It feels really sad. So our condolences to Sterling Shepard and his family, because this is just
He's been
brutal.
one of my favorite pickups for pretty much every waiver wire possible because he's always available and he's consistently.
He's
putting
been a
up
waiver
double-digit-
wire pickup of ours for 3 straight seasons. It's unbelievable. And every time he gets back, he plays like 3 good games and then he gets hurt again. And it's like, I just don't know what to say.
Yep.
Kadarius Toney, Wan'Dale Robinson, probably also not playing this week. So you're literally talking about
James
the
Richie.
dregs that are going to be starting for the Giants, such as they are. So, Jason, I know you have a note that you want to talk about as it relates to a Giant that you're actually interested in here.
I am, and it's not. It shouldn't just be surprising because I brought it up on the waiver show on Monday, but it's Daniel Bellinger. Okay,
Jason's recommending a tight end? What?
Shocker,
Where am I?
know. But like you said, Toney, Robinson, both dealing with injuries. The ghost that Kenny Galladay is going to try it out there, I guess, but I haven't seen that guy actually play football, and it's been brutal for them. Who else are they going to throw to? Bellinger's going to see a good portion of targets. He put up a solid stat line this week, going 4 for 5, for 40 yards. That's 8 points. That's pretty solid for a tight end. And if he finds the end zone, which he should, because he's going to have a bigger target share this week, again, because he's going up against Kenny Golladay, and I guess really James Ritchie would be the next one, but I don't want to trust that. Do you really want to trust that? Go with the tight end that is consistently showing up for Daniel Jones and Daniel Bellinger. I'm just saying.
Okay, Daniel Bellinger is an interesting streamer. I'll give you that much. I think the real one that we didn't talk about is Richie James. That was the hot waiver pickup. I mean, he's basically going to be the wide receiver 1. Like, it's not sexy.
At least until Robinson gets back.
Sure, but I'm just saying, like, he's getting double-digit targets, such as they are. So to me, that's one that is an interesting flex option, and he was probably on your waiver wire going into this week. So if you're looking for a giant, which I don't know why you are, but if you're looking for a wide receiver, that would be one that I would take a look at, even though personally I don't think Richie James is that great, but it's all about opportunity. Jordan's making so many faces at me for recommending Richie James. Jacksonville Eagles game of the week. Who had that? Who had this?
Not earlier in the year, but right now it's going to be a fun one. I'm excited.
Jason,
for it.
I know you want to talk about some Jacksonville players, so rip it, man. Go ahead.
I mean, it's really just come down to the quarterback. I love Trevor Lawrence. I hate to say it, coming into this week, currently the 10th best quarterback in fantasy, averaging 19 fantasy points per game, and he's going to have to throw. I don't see this Eagles just laying down and trying to run the ball. I mean, they will do that because Hurts can run everywhere. But with that in mind, he's going to have to pass. He has to keep up. Robinson's a great option. He has Christian Kirk, my man, still coming in through the slot, and he's going to have an easy matchup there. So, Grant, I'm a little nervous. Eagles are currently the fourth best defense. Makes me a little iffy, but again, if you're looking for a streamer, he's a good option for you.
Okay, and then I see you have a note here about Zay Jones.
Yeah, and that makes me nervous again. He was added to the injury report on Thursday with an ankle. He missed practice. Because of the fact that he's going to likely be up against Slay, I'm going to have to sit him.
I'm not sure he's going to be up against Slay. I think Marvin Jones might actually be getting the Slay treatment, or Christian Kirk. The problem is they move Christian Kirk around. So, and Slay typically stays on one side. If Mike Manning is still here, Mike could answer this question better than me. I defer to Mike.
I also know that James Bradbury is playing pretty well too. So it's not just Slay they have to worry about.
And also, Zay Jones was added to the injury report, so I do actually get, even though he was a trendy waiver pickup, I do get the idea that maybe you want to leave Zay Jones on your bench this week, even though he technically would be something like that. As far as the Eagles go, you're going to have all your normal Eagles. You're probably starting all your normal Eagles. Boston Scott on the injury report. Boston Scott's probably not playing, but everybody else will be fine. Start your Eagles. And with that, Jets, Steelers, another awesome Bears-Giants style game that the NFL is producing for us here. I like your note, Jason. With great sadness, it appears that Zach Wilson is back and will be starting this week at quarterback for the Jets. That is the way to write that. It makes me very nervous about any Jets player this week. But is there anybody you actually would want to play?
I mean, if you're going to throw it out there, I'm going to hedge a little bit because I'm going to say the running back for the Jets. I don't care who it is, but I think you can flex both of them.
I'm absolutely not starting Michael Carter.
Well, I'm just assuming that he is going to be the starter because that's how they've been running it. That's what makes me nervous. That's why I'm hedging. I would love to start Breece Hall. I have him ranked ahead of Michael Carter, but it's just okay. It makes me nervous. Steelers are giving up 20 fantasy points to the running back. Chubb and Hunt rush for 113 and 47 yards as a combination. So 160 yards and a touchdown. Harris and Stevenson, 71 and 47 for 115 yards and a touchdown. Joe Mixon went for 82 yards rushing, but he added 7 catches for 63 yards. So they're giving it up to the running back, and I don't know which one it's going to be. I'm assuming it's probably going to be Hall, but until I know for sure, I think you can flex Breece Hall or dire situation Carter.
Given what a messed up situation it is with this, Hall might actually make your lineup because with Flacco in there, at least he was getting a ton of targets. Yeah. So in PPR, that is helpful. Now, granted, some of that happened last week when Garrett Wilson was out, so that you can't necessarily bake that in. But
in week 1, he saw double-digit targets.
10. It was 10 in week 1, and last week he did more than that. So he's already at 20 plus targets for the season. He only had 1 target in week 2. It was a weird day. So Hall, I get it. you might have to do that, but he'd be the only Jet that I might be willing to flex in. Jordan, do you have any confidence in any of that?
More?
Well, I don't know if I'd start Michael Carter, but like I think Hall, just based on what we've seen 2 out of 3 weeks, is optimistic. But like who knows? Like what if Wilson just doesn't want to throw to Hall? Like what if that's just a Joe Flacco thing? Like,
That
that's
becomes
not-
the issue because
yeah.
historically Wilson doesn't throw
Yeah.
dump offs to the
Yeah.
running back because he misses he can't get his first read and he panics and just starts running.
Yeah.
And that's death for a Breece Hall if that goes that way.
I think Elijah Moore, just based on the past relationship we've seen between those two last season, I think Moore you could start. I wouldn't recommend it like if you had other options, but if you don't have a lot going on, if you have like a Michael Thomas that you can't play and you have Elijah Moore, I feel okay about it.
Right.
So who knows what you'll get from that? I just
exactly. It's all this is terrifying. So
yeah,
if you have other options for this week than Jets, exercise them, and then we'll pick up the pieces next week. Chargers, Texans. So we already covered the Keenan Allen news. We already did a few of these things. But Jason, I know you had a note here about, generally speaking, about
well, we kind of
tight
touched on
end
it
as
already.
relates to, we touched on it, but I'll let you expound on it if you want. I know you have your sit of the week at tight end is Gerald Everett going up against the Texans. Do you want to expound on that a little bit?
I mean, so shockingly, or not, the Texans are actually the 12th best defense against tight ends right now. So that makes it rough. The fact I'm more nervous now that Allen is probably not going to play, but it's just his last week. I called it, and he just looked so bad. 2 for 6, 25 yards last week, and that was without Parham coming. I know he saw the 6 targets, and now they don't have.
No guarantee Parham's playing this week either. I know you keep saying this.
I know, but they also don't have Slater, who is our left tackle, which makes me nervous. They're actually going to use a rookie in the left tackle position in Salyer.
Fair enough. Here's all I'll say about this. Gerald Everett, because tight end is such a dumpster fire. I have Gerald Everett at tight end 12.
Wow,
that says much more. That says much more about tight end than it does about Gerald Everett.
I also want to just say, like, I don't worry about the Texans being tight or tough on tight ends because it was like Indy's tight ends, Denver's tight ends, and Cole Kmet. That's who they play.
And Cole
so
Kmet,
that doesn't
who's
work
uninvolved, who's completely uninvolved.
Yes.
So let's move on from that, and we'll do Cardinals Panthers quickly. So I know, Jason, there's a Cardinal that you're very interested in for this week. So I'll give the floor to you here to start.
Yeah, it's Greg Dortch, the guy who has been on fire. I mean, you cannot sit this dude. The fact that AJ Green is dealing with injury, Moore might be back, which makes me just a little bit nervous. But the fact that they don't have Green and the fact that they really aren't passing super deep is making Dortch a very good play. And like, okay, 17th best defense against the wide receiver, allows 20 points to the position. Dortch has put up 13.3 points versus Kansas City, 15.5 points versus the Raiders, and 17 points versus the Rams.
All right.
Well, so all double-digit weeks. Why not?
I will say, I do have Dortch as a flex this week. So if you're looking for a flex, the Cardinals are putrid right now, but Dortch is doing all right. So I'm with you on that. And then on the other side of the ball, Panthers. The Panthers are bad. But yep. I do know there is one player, Jason, that you're trying to steer people away from.
Well, and it's just because he disappears constantly, and it's DJ Moore. Going up against the 16th best defense, against the position, Baker doesn't really look for him. And when he does, for example, last week, 1 for 6 for 2 yards. Is that something you want on your team? I mean, he saw his targets great, but golly, I had such high hopes that this was going to be a great connection, and it's just not happening. And it seems like Anderson seems to be getting more targets and is being used a lot more efficiently and effectively. So why not keep going to that guy?
There's
I know
so
you don't
little,
want it, but it's still.
No, I don't want. Here's what I'm saying. I don't want anything on the Panthers that isn't CMC. And I'm willing to move on from it at this point. Like trade it, get it out. Do not want skull and crossbones. Move it on. And then Broncos Raiders in the afternoon. Classic game here. Classic game that the Broncos will also show up with this completely undeserved arrogance and not try and write that down too. Take that, Mason. It's This was in relation to the earlier thing. It's funny though. So here's what I'll
Yeah.
say though.
That's
Broncos, Raiders. Broncos haven't been able to do anything. They've lost their last 4 to the Raiders over the last. They haven't beaten the Raiders in 2 years. This is in. I like how you wrote Oakland just to play with me because I can't. I can't do this, but I caught it. Because I'm a pretend professional, so I'm paying attention.
I thought for sure I'd get you with that one too.
Yeah, no, I got it. I do have a little bit of reading comprehension left in me. But basically, as far as Denver goes, I know you had something you want to talk about as it relates to Denver. Just as it relates to the Denver injury
and you're not
report,
gonna like it.
There's nothing to discuss as it relates to the Denver injury report. They're all going to play, even Melvin Gordon with the neck.
Yeah, so it's going to be the Broncos that are playing. The defense here is just outstanding. I know it's
They're very good.
Yeah, so they're going to keep it low scoring. You're hoping for fumbles and turnovers, a lot of sacks. I mean, the fact that the Broncos are the 4th best defense in fantasy right now. And it's hard to sit that, especially in a divisional matchup, which again, I absolutely hate because the Raiders could very well decide to show up and blow us completely out of the water. But
which is what they've done the last 4 times these teams have played.
Correct.
Because the Broncos don't take it seriously.
I know. They put up 12 points against the Chargers, 8 points against the Cardinals, and 2 points to the
If
Titans.
you want to hang your hat on anything, Jason, I'll go here with this. Derek Carr has never met double coverage that he didn't like to throw into, and the Broncos secondary is really, really good. So you're gonna deal with that. And then on the Raiders side, Hunter Renfrow is probably not playing again this week. Do with that information what you will. And then the final note that we have here is actually the Monday night game, Rams at Niners, a game I was actually excited for until I saw these two teams play for the last several weeks. Can't really get up for it anymore. And I know you wanted to talk about, Jason, one of the defenses.
Yeah, and it's going to be the sit of the week, the 49ers. I know. The Rams looked absolutely horrible. Just awful. Correct. That is an issue for sure, Kevin.
That is the nicest thing. That's the nicest way you could have written that. I have so many other ways to describe that involve swearing.
But the defensive sit of the week, it's the 49ers. The Rams are trying to figure out, and I think this is a great week to do it because while the 49ers are pretty solid, they've put up 6 fantasy points versus the Bears, 13 versus Seattle, and 9 versus the Broncos. None of those teams are really showing any offensive prowess whatsoever. So if the Rams can actually throw the ball and run the ball like they're supposed to, I'm not willing to trust the 49ers to be a top 12 defense this week.
And I'm here to tell you, you're out of your mind. I have the 49ers as a top 5 defense because that defense is legit. And I am not convinced that the Rams have got all the gremlins out of the works yet. Okay. I'm not convinced of it. If the Rams can actually do anything about Cooper Kupp, then the 49ers defense can do anything about Cooper Kupp. I caught it there. Then that's it. The Rams have proven that they have no backup plan yet. That if you can take that away, then they have nothing. So they'll literally do nothing. They can't run the ball. They're not willing to throw it to Allen Robinson in a manner that makes any sense. They're trying to get Ben Skiernick involved. What? Well,
did you see him throw that block and then run out and catch the pass?
Do you get fantasy points for a block?
No, but
okay. Then I don't care. Then I don't care. If you do play in a league,
real good at football.
Yeah, fine. I acknowledge that he is probably pretty good at football and he's gritty, but I don't get points for any of that. Cool. Don't care. So as long as the 49ers can have some kind of answer for Cooper Kupp, which I think they will be literally scheming to do, I'm not worried about the Rams having any kind of backup plan because they have yet to prove to me that they have any kind of backup plan yet built in that they can do. Jordan, what do you think? Are you going to split the difference on this with us?
Yeah, I was gonna just teeter, but
I mean, fence sit on me.
Yeah, I'm gonna fence sit because it depends on what else you have to play, right? Because the Niners defense, one of those defenses that you want to start and forget, right? So if you have a better option, if you have the Giants, if you feel better about the Giants against the Bears.
Really, you like the Giants? I get that it's matchup dependent, but my God, the Giants defense looks like death.
Yeah, well, so does the Bears offense.
Correct. That is what happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object. That is all of that is bad. I concede I have the Giants in the top 10 this week, but I am
But
not.
that's what I'm saying though. Like,
Like-
I probably would not sit the Niners unless you have something. Unless you're one of those weird people that has two top 5 defenses. On
You
your
want to
team.
know what I would sit? You want to know what I would sit the Niners for? Is the Packers.
Yeah.
And I don't even
Yeah.
like the Packers defense, but that matchup that's the best matchup you're getting.
Yeah.
You're not getting a better matchup than that, especially if Mac Jones isn't playing. Please put Brian Hoyer in there.
Yeah,
I would love that.
Packers are my number 1 defense.
Yeah,
this
me
week,
too.
So.
So it's like, and I was so right about the Browns. By the way, Jason, I was complaining all show last time the Browns were killing me, and they got that touchdown and bailed
It
me out.
saved you,
Oh.
yeah.
Saved me so hard. So yeah, don't recommend the Browns anymore. We're moving on. And as we go, we are leaving. Enjoy Thursday night football, ladies and germs. But one last question on the way out the door. Kevin Bird wants to know, will CMC play? I'm leaning to no.
I don't know. It's probably no. You should pick up Dante Foreman and or Chuba Hubbard yesterday. That's all. I need to
Donta
know.
Foreman is the one I want
Yes,
of the
correct.
two. I want Donta Foreman. Chuba Hubbard, don't think is actually good at football.
Yeah.
There, I said it. Like,
Foreman is actually good at football.
Yep.
And we'll throw the blocks and everything else.
And Polo, thank you as always, sir. We love having you here. And guys, once again, hit us up on Discord because apparently people are still learning about this. But get your trade questions, get your lineup questions answered. I was going to say 24/7. It's not quite 24/7. It's like 27. 20 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get your trade questions in. Get your lineup questions. Also, join us for any number of banter and nonsense. We're there all the time. Patreon.com/important nonsense.
well, we also have merch.
We do also have merch.
Yes,
But join us on the Patreon. We'd love to have you and answer your questions. But once again, at that FF Nerd, Jason, what do you want to leave the people with before you come back and talk to them on Monday?
I mean, just the fact I'll be up Sunday. I'm not getting up early. I'm not getting up for that stupid game in London. It's not worth it.
Okay.
And I will
okay.
be on Twitter Space from 8 until noon if I wake up. 8-ish, I guess. When
Okay.
I wake up, I'll get on and roll into my headphones and we'll start talking to you guys.
All right. So get your early morning London game questions into Jason no later than Saturday night, and otherwise normal service resumes. Jordan, what do you want to leave the people with here?
I'm just thanks for another great episode. The fans were great. We got a lot of questions, and yeah, I love doing this. Thank you for all the involvement.
Yeah,
I want to thank the fans as well.
Yeah.
We spent so much time answering questions that we went long again. Not as long as last time. We're tightening it up. We're getting into this usual cadence. By the way, this likely will be the new permanent time. So because that way we can take your questions live before Thursday night because we know that you have them. So this has been a good one. Thank you again to everybody out there in streamer land. Thanks for all the questions. Thanks for sitting in with us and enjoying all the nonsense. And enjoy the second half of the Thursday night game, guys. Hopefully it's going well. I couldn't tell you. I've been doing this show. I don't even know what the score is.
7-3.
All right.
You're welcome.
All right. Fabulous. So with that, thank you again to everybody. For myself, for Jason, for Jordan. We'll see you next Thursday. And with that, keep up the nonsense.